What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today we're going over the 12th episode of The Mole. Wait, no, that's not right. The Traitors. No, that's not right either. Oh, yeah, I mean Big Brother Canada 11. So this one was the start of Whodunnit week. And yeah, this feels like it was ripped out of The Mole. It feels like it was ripped out of the Traitors. Listen, if you haven't watched either of those two shows, I highly recommend it. I actually have some breakdowns of The Mole on my channel. You can go check out. Maybe I'll link some annotations up there or something. Look out for those. It's a really fun show that was on Netflix. The Traitors is on Peacock. There's the US version, the UK version. There's an Australian version of the show. And it was literally like they ripped this HoH competition out of those shows. But before we get to the actual competition, let's just break down the episode kind of, beat by beat. First off, we started with the fallout from Zach self-evicting. We saw, Dan kind of reflecting how he's like, well, with everything that kind of came out, maybe I wasn't as close to Zach. I thought, I was his number one, but I guess not. I guess it was Ty. Dan, how did you not know that Ty was his number one over you? Like, seriously? Dan, come on, buddy. Like, you didn't know that Ty and Zach were ride or dies and you were just kind of there along? like seriously? But whatever. Ty kind of, says like he's got to, stick it out now for the people he wanted to play with, aka Claudia. And then Kuzi kind of gives her thoughts on it as well. But one of the interesting ones was Daniel, who says he's not sure where he stands anymore with people like Anika and Kuzi because he was so strong against possibly voting Zach out. He's not 100% sure if they still are kind of really solid with him. If I was him, I'd be wanting to not lean towards Kuzi. Again, we kind of talked about how she gave him an ultimatum. Like, if you vote for Zach to stay and he stays, like, don't talk game to me again. Like, we're done in this game. And I just feel like anytime somebody gives someone else an ultimatum, that is not a good look. And that's not something that you should do in this game because that only could push them further. I feel like it's never going to bring somebody in closer to you unless you literally think that person is very weak-willed and you can manipulate them by saying, do this or else. There's no point in ever doing it. And even then, it feels more like you're belittling the person than actually wanting to work with them and be like, why would you do that to me? Like, you can do so many other ways of getting them to vote your way when they want to vote somewhere else than giving an ultimatum. There's just no reason to do that. But anyway, that kind of takes us to the Invisible HoH competition. So let's kind of lay out how this works. They basically said they were going to add $50,000 to the winning pot. So instead of 100 grand at the end plus the sponsor money, so it's like whatever, 120 grand, they're going to add another $50,000 to that. So the main prize would be $150,000 for winning the show. But this was kind of BS. Like, they knew that someone was going to bid 50K because how this game worked was whoever bid the most of that 50K would win HoH. And then if there was a tie, they would go to a tiebreaker based on what the guess of the average bid was of all the house guests. So they knew there was no way somebody wasn't going to bid 50K for this. This was basically just a, hey, look at us, we're doing 50K, but not really. Not really. We never intend to give another extra 50K for the prize. So we get on into it, and Hope and Kuzi obviously can't play. Hope because of his punishment. We'll get to that later. And Kuzi because she was the outgoing HoH. And then let's kind of break down what the bids were. So Daniel bid 25K. Didn't go all the way in on it and was immediately kind of out of the running because, again, someone was going to bid 50K. If you didn't bid 50K, you were basically throwing this HoH competition. Renee went for 24K. Dan, who was very smart with this, went with 50K, and the average he gave was $31,013 or 13 cents, excuse me. So, well, why the cents? Like, I get I get a little bit of why you would put cents, but there's really like no point in putting cents unless you thought somebody else was going to guess 31K. You know what I mean? Like you're not setting yourself up there to do better unless you thought, oh, someone's going to guess $31,000 for the average. So if I put 13 cents, I will be at 13 cents closer. Really just a weird decision. Maybe he just wanted to do like, it was like a palindrome, right? So like 31,000,13 is the same forward and backwards. And that's something I literally just thought about as I'm looking at my note. So if so, bravo, Dan. Bravo for just memeing as you're making your average. Claudia went with 43K, which I guess she just thought that people wouldn't go the full 50, and she did 43. That's close. Anika does go 50K, but then with maybe the dumbest bid, or not the bid, but the average, she put $49,999.99. So 1 penny lower. Like, I don't know what her strategy was for that. So she thought the average would be 1 penny lower than 50. So if everyone did 50K, the average would be 50K. So you'd be a penny short. So she was thinking that everyone did like 50K and then like one person did like 40K, and that would bring it down like just a little bit down in the average, right? Even then, 1 penny, you're locking yourself in there because the very next person to go was Ty, who also did 50K. And then even with maybe the second dumbest one, does the same exact average guess, except for instead of 99 cents, he does 98 cents. So he just locked Anika out, right? Because the average was going to be lower than that, but just locks her out completely. Like, unless the average came out exactly 99 cents, like 1 penny less than 50, Anika is out of the running. We did get kind of a little bit of fun stuff at the round table because, again, this round table was literally like the same table they used in the Traitors. So the Traitors, if you haven't seen it, basically there's 3 people who are traitors in the whole show, and then they have to try and guess each night who the traitors are, and they vote somebody out, and it's all done at this round table where they write down somebody's name, and they go around in a circle, and they ask questions and stuff. So we got a little bit of that. I wish this competition had more of that, because that was the most exciting part of this. Not whatever they were writing down for their bids and their averages. Like, who really cared about them reading the thing and writing it down? I want to see them, you know, sussing each other out of the table, like looking at their body language. I kept thinking like, oh my gosh, you know, would be amazing feeds of this. I would have watched the live feeds of them sitting around the table as somebody new came in for hours. I don't care how long the competition took. I would watch that. It would be so entertaining to see that. But of course, no live feeds. So after that, we then got Jonathan, who, oh Jonathan, you wonderful Newfie man who just can't say whodunit. Whodunit. He just couldn't get it. He just couldn't get it, and I loved it. It was a great little line in there. He goes for 50K, and then he goes for an average of 25,050 cents, which I guess is right in the middle. So maybe if you thought about it, it's like, oh, that makes sense to me that it would be there. But everyone was going to be doing close to 50, right? You have to imagine at least a few people were going to do 50, so it was going to be much higher and closer to 50, the goal. But you also knew there would probably be people who wouldn't go all the way to that 50, right? So 25 probably isn't the best one, right? But it was where he went. Nene ended up just doing 39K, so she was kind of out of the running. Santina also goes with 50K, goes the full 50 for her bid, and then her average was 49,099 cents. So she actually went like a full 1,000 less. But the big difference with her 99 cents and why I kind of like it compared to everybody else, she went with the idea that, hey, I bet someone might write down 49,000 for their bid, And if I say 99 cents and I'm a little bit closer, then I win, right? It's kind of like the Price is Right rules where you go $1 above somebody else's bid. You're kind of locking them out. So hers, I can understand why she did the cents there. It was kind of random to do the cents. But again, I think she was going for maybe like just locking out somebody else who might have been close. And then in the end, Santina does win. It's not revealed that she won, but they do say that the winning bid was 50K and that more than one person did it. So they revealed that the winning average was 49,099 cents, which was Santina's winning bid. Now, I know what you guys are wondering. What was the real average? Well, I did the math. I'm not good at math, but I did the math and it could be wrong. $42,333.33. So that means that Santina, where do you hear this, was $6,667.66 off. And Dan was actually the next closest person with $11,333.20. So both of them actually did really well with their averages. That's fairly close. Like if you just had to guess randomly what the average would be, that's actually pretty good guesses. 99, a penny less, a penny, Anika. Oh God, that was so dumb. Anyway, I just really don't get a lot of the guesses that they did. Anika's was bad. Ty's was really bad. Jonathan wasn't too bad, but I mean, come on, like, you know, it was going to be higher. Like if you just think about it, again, I'm not very good at math, but I know that the average would have been higher. Anyone who didn't bid 50K, like I said, they just weren't trying in this HOH. You knew that somebody was going to do it. But anyway, speculation starts to begin. Fingers are being pointed everywhere. Everyone's like, is it you? Is it you? You look like you were happy. Huh? So they're all trying to figure out who it is, except obviously Takuzi and Hope. Almost like it's an advantage to not be the HOH this week and included in all the speculation. Anyway, Santina does trust Jonathan with the info that she's the HOH. She kind of says to him like, yeah, I don't think you're going to go on the block this week. He's like, oh no, you don't think? She's like, yeah, actually, I know you won't. And he's like, wait, you no? She's like, yeah, shh. And then he celebrates as after she leaves, like he was really pumped up knowing that she was the HOH, that it was great news for him. We then ended up getting Kuzi and Ty, who kind of talked it out, and Ty basically was saying, he's like, listen, I understand what you did last week. It was a move. I respect it. Like, I'm not mad at it. I just don't want to be labeled as Zach, right? Like, I don't want to be just completely connected to that. I'm my own person in this game. So, you know, moving forward, I still want to work with you, and we'll see how that really kind of goes. More speculation. Renee actually kind of sits next to Hope and goes, so is it you? You know it's not him. You know it's not him, Renee. Why are you asking him this? And then we end up getting a montage of all the house guests asking like, oh, is it you? Who is it? Is it? I think it's Dan S. I think it's Ty. I think it's Jonathan. So there was lots of speculation running about who it actually is, except for Hope. Because again, it feels like it's actually kind of an advantage to not be included in this and kind of be cleared of all accusations of being the HOH. Because one of the things that Santina actually brings up later with Jonathan is how when she makes a move, she doesn't want to put a bigger target on Jonathan with her moves. But I feel like Jonathan's like, look, it doesn't matter what you do. Like, people are already speculating it's me. Like, you might as well just do what it is. Maybe Hope doesn't get thought of as someone who could be the HOH anyway. But even still, he's one less person that you can't suspect as being the HOH. Because he literally couldn't play in it. And in a way, that's also kind of a good thing because you're not putting a target on yourself. And you're not somebody who's lying about being HOH. That's another thing you have to consider. If you pull off the invisible HOH and nobody's able to kind of, you know, figure out that it's you until later, they're then going to realize, oh, you know what? Santina's a good liar. I need to be careful with Santina. Hope doesn't have that problem because Hope can't be the HOH. Again, it's just one of those things where I feel like it was kind of an advantage. So after that, we do end up getting kind of more of that speculation, and this is one case where I really had to say, wait a minute, hold up, because Jonathan was trying to lay seeds that it was Santina and she's trustworthy, and he was doing this to Anika and Hope, and then Anika kind of says, like, no offense, but I don't think Santina is smart enough to put that number down. Anika, you locked in a penny under. You locked in 1 penny under 50K. And we're supposed to think, oh, Santina's not. Anika, look in the mirror. Because, come on. We then also got Claudia and Ty kind of reconnecting again. One of the most toxic showmances we've ever seen in all of Big Brother. And then we got the Wendy's thing, which was Kiefer. I loved seeing Kiefer on my screen again. He was from BBCan11. He was the first ever Canada's favorite player. And it was awesome to see him on the screen. Now, one thing that was kind of funny that I was thinking about was, you know, how did she not get caught running with the Wendy's? Well, I have an idea. This was the day they were actually doing the outdoor lockdown. We were talking about it on the dailies when we first kind of found out that it was Santina, and they were all locked out in the backyard for pretty much the whole day. Well, at least the first part of the day and part of that daily until eventually they were let back inside. So what I assume is they were just calling people in for diary room sessions every so often, and when they called Santina in, she pretty much had free reign of the house. But one of the things is she probably took longer than most other people did with their diary room sessions. So you would probably think the houseguests would be able to piece together it was Santina, but maybe not. We then got Santina kind of meeting with the two people that she really wants to target. So she meets up with Ty and she says, like, hey, like, you know, if it was Dan, right, do you think he would put me up? And Ty pauses for a very long time and says, no, well, it's possible, but I don't think you'd be the target if you went up. Ty, that's not good. That's not good. You were basically throwing Dan on the bus there. He does say that he thinks it's going to be Jonathan, and that if it is Jonathan, he's going to put Dan and Ty up, which you're basically giving Santina an alibi and saying, oh, you think Jonathan would put you two up? Okay, I'm just going to put you two up. Because then you'll think it's Jonathan and not me. She then ends up meeting with Dan. He says, you know, how like, we're not really close, but, you know, she's not really a target to him. And, you know, they've always kind of been like somewhat connected, but again, not working together. But his big mistake is can't make you any promises. What do you mean you can't make promises? Now is the perfect time to make anyone a promise. You don't know who the HOH is, so just make promises to everybody. Keep yourself off the block. But he doesn't do so. We then got Santina and John kind of chatting about the plan, how she wants it to be Ty and Dan to go up on the block, but she kind of wonders which one she would want to go first, right? Like Ty, they kind of think they can get the numbers to get him out whenever. Daniel might be a little bit harder because he's closer to, you know, people like Nene and Renee, so it might just be harder to get him out, plus he's just really good at the competition so far. We saw more of this conversation actually on the daily, and they kind of talked about how much of a comp beast he was. But really, in the end, she wants to get Dan out first over Ty, and the plan would be to put both of them up on the block. If one of them comes down, one of the girls would go up as a replacement. And then even weirder than the last time they did an invisible HOH, they had it like disembodied in the DR, kind of giving the nominations. This one was even creepier with a creepy mask and big blue glowing eyes, had like a weird voice changer, and it ended up being Dan and Ty who were nominated to go on the block. And that pretty much is what happened on the episode, but let's talk a little bit now. If you don't want spoilers from the dailies and stuff like that, we're going to get into more of that, but here's your spoiler warning. If you don't want that, in 3, 2, 1, I'm about to show who won Veto and who are the nominees currently. Boom. It is Daniel who won Veto. and Claudia went up as a replacement after Daniel used the veto on Ty. So that is where we're at currently with everything. We'll see that on tonight's episode with the veto competition and the replacement nominee. Maybe. Actually, we might not see the replacement nominee. A lot of times they like to leave it as a cliffhanger, but I'm excited to see how the veto is going to work. Because here's my big question is, so Daniel used it on Ty. What if Santina wanted to nominate Daniel? Wouldn't she just find out that Daniel was the veto holder? How would they keep that secret? Now, obviously, she had originally said like she was going to put one of the girls up, so she probably was going to put up Claudia or Renee or Nene anyway. But if she did want to put Daniel up, wouldn't that have exposed the veto? Did they have a plan for that? Was there like a backup plan, or, oh, you know, we need you to give your top 3 nominees for replacement? Like, I don't know what they would have done necessarily. That kind of is an interesting question. So we'll have to find that out tonight on the episode if that's explained at all. But yeah, this is interesting to see how this goes. Also, I do want to bring up the alliance chart, because something that was not mentioned at all on the episode, but we did see them talking, is the crown. So that is the newest alliance that we have in the house with Anika, Kuzi, Daniel, Hope, and Jonathan. We didn't really even see much of a hint to Hope and Santina working together. But we did see a lot of hints that the Crown are working together, but no official naming and forming of that group. They are on kind of one side of the house. Then you have the Shady Bunch, who are kind of that middle group. And then you have another big group with them and the Girly Pops kind of forming a big kind of 6-person alliance, which doesn't really have a name just yet. They're still workshopping it, I guess. But then you have Ty and Dan, who are smack down dab in the middle with targets on both of their backs. Everybody wants the gun for them, even the Girly Pops. Like Claudia, as much as we've seen her kind of, you know, working with Ty, I think sure it would be good for her game for him to stay, but overall I think she just sees him as a threat at this point and wants to go girl strong, and the quicker he's out, the more control they have over the game. I feel like she feels more trusting in actually Jonathan than she would even Ty, but still doesn't tell him everything. It's a weird dynamic with the two of them, to be honest with you. But yeah, this is kind of how the house is sitting at the moment. And we'll see how this all kind of plays out in tonight's episode and then also on tomorrow's eviction episode. But yeah, honestly, it was a weird one. Again, it felt like it was legit plagiarism of the Traitors and the Mole with this HoH competition. I think there would have been a few things that would have made it better. One, instead of saying we are adding 50K to the pot, they should have said you can bid up to 50K of the pot, because then it changes the dynamic of it. I don't think you would have seen as many people say 50K if they knew that it was half of the grand prize being taken away. I feel like you would have gotten a lot less bids that would have been closer to 25 or 24. It would have been a lot similar to what they did on the Mole, where it was just literally taking money from the pot. And if someone found out that you took that away from the grand prize, that then paints a very big target on your back. People would be very mad, and you would not want to admit that you are the HoH, and you wouldn't want it to come out that you are the HoH ever, because you would have cost everyone money. So that's one way I think it would have been better. Maybe I don't even know how else you really change it up to make it better, but it was definitely kind of dull to watch. Again, I think if we would have gotten more of them kind of speculating at the table, that would have been more entertaining than just watching them write their numbers down. They were not really good at math either, so that was an issue. And you know what would have been maybe better? Here's an idea. Instead of doing the average and having that be a tiebreaker, what if each bid had to be unique? right? And if you had a matching bid of someone with the same thing, right? If two people bid 50K, boom, they're nullified and neither of them count anymore. But the highest unique bid was the winner. You might have seen a lot of different variants in the numbers, right? People might have put like 41, 42, the 43 that Claudia did probably would have been a pretty good bid. Someone might have done like 49.99.99, the average, locking it out at a penny, right? So it would have been a little bit more interesting, and I think you wouldn't have worried about the average tiebreaker thing. Any unique high bid would have been the winner, and I think that would have definitely improved this competition as well. But overall, as far as the episode goes, I don't know. Most of it was all of that competition. Like, that was most of the episode, and then speculation on who it possibly could have been. None of them actually knew, so it just kind of ran on for a while. What did you guys think of the HoH competition? Did you like how different it was? Did you think maybe some of my improvements would be better? Do you have any ideas on what your improvements would be? What would you have bid? What would your bid have been? What would your average guess have been? Obviously, we know what the perfect answers would be, but let's be honest. What do you think you would bid in that situation? Me, I would have bid 50 because, again, if you weren't bidding 50, you weren't actually playing in the HoH. And my average, I don't think I could say I would have went 42 as my average. I might have went like with like a 35, which actually would have been like a winning bid. But maybe I would have went probably higher, maybe like 45, right? Thinking that the average went down like a couple of thousand. But I would have thought a lot of people were bidding 50 because, again, if you didn't bid 50, you were throwing this HoH. So I probably would have even tried to think like, okay, you know, who doesn't need a win HoH? Who wouldn't want this at all? Who would be throwing? Like, maybe like 3 people are throwing it, so they're not going to bid the top one. So I don't know. In those scenarios, I do end up winning with those bids, but I also know what the winning bid was and should have been. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just I'm just clouded by that, and I have a little bit of tunnel vision. But I definitely wouldn't have bid a penny under 50. A penny? 1 penny. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, you never miss a stream. Tonight, again, we have the veto competition. Tomorrow is the eviction. I'll have recaps for those. If we get a daily, I'll put a little one out later on today as well. There was a daily yesterday. It was terrible. I was able to get it done within 5 minutes, so you can go check that out if you want. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you for all the support you give me here on this channel, but also all of my other platforms. You can find links to all of them in the description down below and a pinned comment. Things like my Twitter, my Twitch, my Discord, also the Kick stream. Go check out the Kick stream. Give that a follow. Thank you guys so much. Once again, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you next time.